Friday the 13th, the history and astrology behind the unluckiest day of the year. Why people fear and Swifties revere Friday the 13th. Insert horror movie doom music. Friday the 13th is nigh, bringing with it a sense of general unease and some trying astrological transits. Come Friday, we'll be fresh off of a tense opposition between our planets of love and war. A high-stakes instigator energy amplified by the final days of Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius and the moon on the brink of fullness in the chaos as cardio sign of Gemini. Gentle it ain't. Read on to learn more. Why is Friday the 13th bad luck? Two silhouettes of armed Viking warriors with axe and sword against sky with circle of clouds and bright sun. The unlucky origins of Friday the 13th extend back to a Viking dinner party gone awry. First, let us address the ominous reputation. The unlucky association of this day of days stretches back centuries to Nordic folklore. According to myth, the 12 primary deities of the Nordic pantheon threw a dinner party in Valhalla. Fun. The trickster god Loki showed up uninvited as the 13th guest and orchestrated the murder by mistletoe death of Balder the Beautiful, god of light and gladness. Balder's death brought grief to the world and solidified the bad vibes of the number 13. Fateful feasts continue in the Christian tradition. Mosaic of the Last Supper. Judas was the 13th guest at the Last Supper, putting a red-headed exclamation point on the bad vibes of the number 13. 13 people were present at the Last Supper, and Judas, a probable Aries and the red-headed betrayer of JC, was the last to arrive, furthering the association between the number and imminent death or ruin. And the hits keep on coming, folks. Friday comes into biblical play in several ways. Jesus was crucified on the Friday after the Last Supper, and according to law, Friday marks the day that A. Cain killed Abel, and B. Eve offered Adam the downfall apple of knowledge. Yikes. Historical horrors of Friday the 13th. The late great Tupac Shakur died on Friday the 13th. Through the Bible and beyond, Friday the 13th has played host to evil events that have further stoked its reputation as a big baddie. Notable among these are the arrest and subsequent massacre of the Knights Templar in 1307, the bombing of Buckingham Palace in 1940, the murder of New Yorker Kitty Genovese in 1964, and the death of rapper Tupac Shakur in 1996. Fear of this date is as deep as its history. There are even two terms to describe the phobia, each sounding remarkably like IKEA furniture: paraskevedicatria and frigatriskidicophobia, respectively. Swifties rejoice. Taylor Swift will turn 35 on Friday the 13th. One person doing their damnedest to rebrand Friday the 13th, HRH Taylor Swift, who will turn 35 years old on Friday the 13th. From the get-go, Tay-Tay has launched a personal campaign to make 13 a lucky number. Swift has been known to scrawl 13 on the back of her hand before performing, a practice imitated by Swifties the world over. She explained to Jay Leno in 2009, "I was born on the 13th. I turned 13 on Friday the 13th. My first album went gold in 13 weeks. My first #1 song had a 13-second intro. Every time I've won an award, I've been seated in either the 13th seat, the 13th row, the 13th section, or row M, which is the 13th letter. Basically, whenever a 13 comes up in my life, it's a good thing." Touché. The astrology of Friday the 13th. In astrology, Friday belongs to Venus, the planet of love, beauty, attraction, assets, aesthetics, and ambient light. And it just so happens that this year Venus will be in the free and freaky vapors of Aquarius on Friday the 13th. Venus in Aquarius welcomes the weird and recognizes that love is an act of creation, that insists we color beyond the lines and express and receive care in unexpected ways from surprising sources. We love to hear it. However, we'll be feeling the aftershock of the Venus-Mars opposition on Thursday the 12th, an intense transit amplified by the energy of the soon-to-be full moon in Gemini and the last gasp of Mercury retrograde. The moon will be nearing its peak on Friday the 13th. If Venus is our planet of bliss and beauty, ease and harmony, Mars is the red-hot luminary of tempers, discord and exerted effort. This opposition is a struggle between masculine and feminine forces, the desire to resolve versus the need to be right, comfort versus uncomfortable change. At its best and brightest, these opposing energies provide necessary tension, sexual, creative, and otherwise. The Latin root of tension is tensionare, meaning to stretch. Perhaps under the influence of this transit, and with the sun shining in the terminally optimistic sign of Sagittarius, we can expand our definition of luck and stay open to the possibility that friction can indeed lead to fortune. And there you have it, the history and astrology behind Friday the 13th. Whether you fear it or revere it, one thing is for sure, it's a day that won't go unnoticed.